Meet Javed, a former president who refuses to give up. After losing an election, he's fighting in court, shouting, "I don't accept defeat." But what happens when his own words turn against him? You're about to find out in this wild story. Before we jump in, we'd love to hear, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments so we can bring you more stories that feel close to home. Please hit that subscribe button, it's free and it keeps you in the loop. For what's next? Ready? Let's dive into the story. It was a cold morning in a big American city. The courthouse steps were packed with people. Reporters with cameras, protesters with signs, and curious folks just watching. Everyone was there for one man, Javed Malik. Javed was an ex-president, guy who'd once led the country with a loud voice and a big personality. Now, he was back in the spotlight, but not for winning. He'd lost the last election, and he wasn't happy about it. Javed stood tall in his dark suit, his gray hair slicked back, facing the crowd. "I don't accept defeat," shouted, his voice booming over the noise. "This election was stolen from me, and I'm here to take it back." The crowd cheered, some of them at least. Others shook their heads, tired of hearing the same old story. Javed had been saying this for months, filing lawsuits, holding rallies, telling anyone who'd listened that he deserved another chance. Today was his big day in court, and he was sure he'd win. Inside the courthouse, the air was tense. The judge sat high up, her face calm but serious. Lawyers shuffled papers, and Javed sat with his team, looking confident. His lawyer stood up and started talking. "Your Honor, Mr. Malik was cheated. The votes were messed up, and he should get a new election." The room buzzed. Javed nodded, leaning back in his chair like he'd already won. He'd done this before, talked his way out of trouble, and he thought today would be no different. Across the room sat Sarah, a young lawyer on the other side. She was new to big cases like this, but she was sharp. She'd spent weeks digging into Javed's claims, and she wasn't impressed. Sarah stood up, her voice steady. "Your Honor, Mr. Malik has no proof. He's just upset he lost, and he's wasting everyone's time." Javed smirked at her, like she was a kid who didn't know better. But Sarah wasn't backing down. The judge listened quietly as both sides argued. Javed's team showed charts and numbers, trying to prove something went wrong with the election. Sarah fired back with facts. Every vote had been checked, every rule followed. The courtroom got louder, people whispering, cameras clicking. Then Sarah said something that made everyone sit up straight. "Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Malik isn't as stubborn as he seems." Javed's smirk faded. He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Sarah reached into her bag and pulled out a small USB drive. "This is a video," she said, "from 5 years ago when Mr. Malik was still president." The judge nodded and a screen was set up. The room went silent as the video started to play. There was Javed, younger but still loud, sitting in an office with a few aides. He was laughing, waving his hands. "Look," he said on the video, "if I ever lose, I'll just say it's rigged. But honestly, losing happens. You take it and move on, that's life." The aides laughed with him, like it was a joke. The video ended, and the courtroom exploded. People gasped. Reporters scribbled fast. Javed's face turned red, his hands gripping the table. "That's not me," Javed yelled, jumping up. "That's fake." But everyone could see it was him, same voice, same laugh, same way of moving. The judge banged her gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Malik." Javed sat, breathing hard, his confidence gone. Sarah spoke again. "He says he doesn't accept defeat, but here he is, admitting it's part of life. He's lying to this court." The judge looked at Javed, her eyes sharp. "Mr. Malik," she said, "this video changes things. You're asking for a new election, but you've just shown us you know how to lose." Javed opened his mouth to argue, but nothing came out. His lawyer whispered to him, shaking his head. The crowd outside started chanting some for him, some against, but inside, it was over. A week later, the judge made her call. Case dismissed, Javed's fight was done. The news went wild. Ex-president's old video sinks his court battle. People shared the clip online, laughing at how Javed's own words tripped him up. Supporters got quieter, his rallies got smaller. He'd spent months shouting he'd never lose, but now he couldn't hide from the truth. Sarah walked out of the courthouse that day, a small smile on her face. She'd taken on a giant, and one not with tricks, but with facts. As for Javed, he went home to his big house, alone with his thoughts. He'd built his life on never giving up, but one old video proved he wasn't as tough as he pretended, and that was that. So that was the story of Javed Malik, a man who wouldn't admit defeat until his own past shut him down. What do you think? Would you have kept fighting like Javed or let it go? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story got you hooked, please hit that subscribe button. It's free for you, but it means a lot to us. Thanks for watching, have a good day, and we'll catch you in the next one.